I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook, baby.
166.
166. So Joe was just telling me something that I told him. So I said, let's start recording so we can put it on the record.
No, I didn't hear it from you. I heard it from a podcast guest, like a co-host.
Oh,
Who's been on the show.
Co-host?
That's who it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
My cat.
Yeah.
One of them. He's great. He usually co-hosts with me. So we were talking about it started with Joe threatening to finger me. And then I said, and then we should have like hand signals, like, no, don't finger.
Yeah.
And I was like, in places like in parts of Europe where they like let in these migrants from countries that just kind of tolerate sexual assault against women. Yeah. The like HR response is like to dances to like, no, don't finger me. And like, don't like pointing at their crotch, then like X's. And then somehow that got to Japan. And you said that in some places in Japan, they don't speak English. They'll put an X in front of their chest. And then I said, I told you that because that happened to me. And now we're here.
Yeah. But I still don't believe you. It doesn't sound like something you would tell me.
but that is true. It's hilarious. It's not hilarious in the moment. It actually sucks. And it's like, I want to call the ACLU.
Oh.
Yeah. I want to like call civil rights attorney and be like, my civil rights, but it's like, oh, you're not in America. They can just they just discriminate against people. And they can just be like, no, we're not serving you because we're not dealing with that. Which respect.
Well, I heard it was I was just about to say because I heard about that recently. It was on the Bad Friends podcast with Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino, and then one of them brought it up and like, oh, that's kind of rude for them to just be like, hey, we don't serve your, and they're like, no, it's actually kind of like. It's kind of a polite way of like, hey, like we're not going to deal with the language barrier, so don't even waste your time.
I guess I've heard that too. I've heard like the left-wing progressive take is like, it's the same thing that they always say. It's like, well, they always use like relativism where it's like, well, if it happened here, it would be, the biggest, it'd be the Jussie Smollett, like the biggest thing ever. But happens there's like, no, that's their culture. It's like that's the whole reason why, you have Muslims sexually assaulting women on New Year's in Cologne, Germany, like that sort of thing. Talked about that last episode. It's like, no, like there's right and there's wrong. Yeah. And Japan's still like a free capitalist society. Like you shouldn't just turn people away because of how they look. Like they don't know. First of all, like I spoke enough Japanese to order food. Like I could do that. You're saying that you can't even deal with that. Like, how do you know I'm not a professor at Tokyo University who like speaks? There are white people and black people who speak fluent Japanese. Yeah. So like, how do you know? It's like, no, I still think it's wrong. Like, I don't care what people say. Like, oh, it's their culture and they don't want to deal with like, no, it's wrong. Like you shouldn't just turn people away because of how they look. Like, I think it's a bad standard to make.
Yeah, but sometimes it's just like some people are just so fucking ugly that's just like I'm not going to.
Oh yeah, well sure, ugly people. I didn't. That's different. Everyone I associate with is radiant and handsome and very good looking. So
yeah, that's how we came together. We weren't attracted to each other because of like, oh, like I like your thoughts, I like your ideas. It's like you're a hot dude and I'm a hot dude.
Yeah, that's how most guys meet.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how most straight guys like start podcasts together.
Sure.
So dude, all kinds of crazy shit's going on in our culture these days. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Man?
We're not talking about any of this. We're talking about speaking of Muslims, like that one.
Good. Yeah. That's
Mahmoud Khalil. Joe and I like to one of the we don't really have themes for the show, but I'd say we have a few pillars that uphold the show of grandeur. And one of them is like free speech stuff, I guess. Yeah. Especially in America. Yeah. Even though you would be surprised sometimes when you look at the protests going on at places like Columbia University that it's in America. It is America. Yep. And so this is the Mahmoud Khalil. So look, this is still a developing story.
Right.
My opinion very much could change depending on a few details. I'm going off of the latest information that I know. And if you've heard later information, tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've listened to a decent amount of pods about this, read articles from a few different sources, and even the sources that I thought were going to be a little more one-sided were more moderate than I thought.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's been a fascinating because I haven't read too much deeply into it until you sent me the Spectator article, which I read.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because people from across the political spectrum just had a range of opinions on this. I only had like a very superficial understanding of what happened, and so it's just been like, oh, I thought you would have been on his side, but now you're taking the opposite stance, and I've just been kind of seeing. It's been a fascinating litmus test, I think. So, just dive into. Want to summarize the event, and then we'll dive into the article.
I do. So, to the best of my knowledge, this even like some of the basics, I still get different facts. So based off the accumulation of what I have absorbed in this matter, Mahmoud Khalil, he's a green card holder, what's a lawful permanent resident, also known as a green card holder. He is a student at Columbia in New York, and he has an American wife. Everyone like 8 months pregnant. That's more for like the sympathy aspect of it. But yes, an 8-month pregnant wife. He grew up in Syria, but he's a Palestinian background. His like family going back generations, lived in refugee camps near Damascus, and he has been part of the protests that have been literally from coast to coast in different ways. But I think one of the most notable ones, because it was both last year and this year now, have been Columbia. I know like UCLA had big ones. So I'm sure some other Ivy League schools, but it really feels like Columbia for some reason, not for some reason, because if I had to pick schools who would be the top, it would be Columbia. But other schools have been quieter. Like there's like North Carolina, there were those students who like that was the whole thing. Like the bros were holding up the American flag, and then Harvard got in some trouble. A small school in Minnesota, but it's really been Columbia has been at the forefront of this because I think they've been the most intense. Yeah. So he has been one of these student protesters. Now look, I think each side here, and this is going to be one of those podcasts where like I'm not going to make anyone happy. Like,
nice.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, don't listen to this if this is like, oh, you want what you feel reaffirmed, because I want to look at this one from the beginning. I've always said, and we have always said on the show, like, best as possible, stick to your values, and this shit will come back to hurt you if you don't. Like if you take a stance, that can very much be weaponized against you, and that's what I'm starting to get with this issue, because I'm kind of hiding the ball here. Khalil has been, I guess I'll affirm him that Khalil has been arrested by ICE, and he is currently held in Louisiana in an ICE detention facility, which is already kind of strange because he has no connection to Louisiana. That's clearly just what in law we call forum shopping or judge shopping, where they figure that they'll get a more sympathetic judge in Louisiana than in New York or New Jersey or somewhere up here.
Right.
Which really makes sense. I don't know where he's from, like in the States. I don't know if he's a New Yorker. I have no idea. That I don't know. But he's been held in Louisiana. He's had trouble speaking with his attorney. There have been multiple, even Marco Rubio has come out and talked about this, who's the Secretary of State, right? Yeah. That basically he's going like the Trump administration's position is that he is more or less a terrorist, at least aiding terrorism, and poses a threat to, I guess the way they're wording this is like a foreign, like
enemy of the U.S. sort of.
Yeah. What's the term I'm looking for? Like basically combating anti-Semitism is like one of our policies or something. Right. Which that to me is very scary. Again, look beyond the surface of that, because like, yes, anti-Semitism is bad, we all know that.
Yeah.
But these terms get weaponized. So, and I don't like how a lot of the right has turned, and not just the right, actually, like it's kind of bipartisan, more Republican now, but a lot of Democrats too, of like, what is anti-Semitism, which like I don't agree with what they define anti-Semitism as.
Right. They're conflating, in this case, they're conflating his pro-Palestinian views with being like one anti-Semitic and also pro-Hamas. But it doesn't seem like there's been enough so far, at least. It doesn't seem like there's been a whole lot of clear connections between his pro-Palestinian views and these other more troublesome views yet.
Yeah. So right now, this is about where I am. So people are like, and I do want to just like read from the article, because I feel like who wrote this? Dave Seminara for the Spectator World, which is one of our regular publications we discuss. So I'm just going to read some of this, and then I don't think this is much changed, because this was only from yesterday.
A day ago.
Yesterday. Okay. So in his inaugural address, Donald Trump promised to safeguard the First Amendment. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I also will sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Awesome. This was music to my ears. But with the recent arrest of Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian green card holder who organized student protests at Columbia University, the administration is demonstrating that First Amendment protections don't apply when it comes to criticizing Israel's conduct in the Gaza conflict. So what I also want to say right here is, like, where I don't like what a lot of the left does in these cases is I don't think all of this is speech. Like, even some left-wing people I really respect online, I'm seeing just like making arguments like, oh, what's your anti-free speech? It's like, no, I'm sorry, taking over buildings, disrupting classes, taking over libraries, harassing people. Like, well, I mean, God forbid, I'm gonna quote Hillary Clinton here and give her some props here, but she used the term when she was getting heckled for something like the is it the heckler's veto, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the heckler's veto. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not free speech. Right. Like if they're in a public forum and they're using even inflammatory speech, that's fine. Speech I don't agree with, because we'll say the bromides here, like, yes, free speech exists for speech that you don't like. It's I've heard it even by some of these same left-wingers. I've liked what they've said in some parts of this, where it's like, free speech is to protect, what makes you tug at your shirt collar a little. Like, oh shit, like you can say that, where like you can't say that in other quote unquote free countries. Like the ones that come first to mind, like the UK or other parts of Europe or Australia or whatever. And that's something that we hold dear here. So even those sorts of things should not be prosecuted or persecuted or prosecuted. And that's not what now again, I'm talking broadly here about the quote unquote protests. What Khalil has been involved in, Mahmoud Khalil has been involved in, I think has been somewhat of both. I don't know. That's where, like, when it comes to him personally, which is what's in question here, of course, that's where I'm just not as sure, because the internet will find anything. It will drudge up anything. And so you would think that now, even after a couple of days, if he'd said or propagated anything like really gross or disgusting, like him personally, or even groups that he was really involved with, that would be splattered across the internet. And it's just not, which makes me feel like, and I'm kind of jumping the gun, but I've already started. So it makes me feel like the Trump administration is doing a couple of things. One, they're playing to a donor base that really helped them win this election, which were wealthy, very pro-Israel people. And again, that doesn't just mean Jews. Some of the biggest pro-Israel people in this country are like evangelical Christians. And they really delivered for him. And so they're kind of giving red meat to that part of their constituency. And also they simply didn't know that he was a lawful permanent resident, because that does make a huge difference. It's not the same as being a citizen. You have way more rights. He was just on a student visa. And by the way, if you're on a student visa, just go fucking study. Like, don't get involved. I couldn't imagine, like, I've lived in other countries, been like legally documented. Like, I couldn't imagine getting involved in this shit. And like not expecting there to be repercussions. Like I would just be happy I'm there working. Like some of these countries, it's hard for them to get jobs.
Yeah.
So like you're working. So if I'm at some premier institution too, in Spain or Italy or France or whatever, I'm just going to do what I'm there to do. So I don't, but again, he wasn't. And some of those students, I think, have had their student visas revoked, but he is a green card holder. So he has more protections, as he should.
So you touched on an interesting point. And I said it before on the podcast, I don't know enough about like the long history between Israel and Palestine. So I'm not going to, comment on that. But it's been, that conflict has forced both sides to commit a really stupid thing, which is to conflate, to take like this absolutist position and to like conflate the worst of their opposition. So for example, like if you're on the pro-Israel side, like the very hardline pro-Israel side, in your mind, you think that anyone who's pro-Palestine is automatically pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
Whereas on the pro-Palestine side, you think that anybody who is pro-Israel is automatically like in favor of slaughtering people in Gaza. And so it's just like, it's like this stupid, simplistic, reductive thinking. It just comes from like this absolutist.
I agree. I agree, but I think it's like with their history, I kind of get it.
Sure.
Because like I grew up with kids whose like dads were in the IDF, like retired.
Yeah.
And like they would show us, and I would see things that like Palestinians are taught about Jews, and it's horrific.
Yeah.
And the same, I'm sure, goes for parts of Israel, where it's like, no, they all just want you dead. Yeah. And, one group is persecuting the other, and then the other group, kills children with the other. And of course, like your sentiment is right. But I don't think I think some people tend to think like, oh yeah, it's the same as like, not all Republicans are KKK hicks, and not all Democrats are like purple hair Black Panthers. It's like, but it's also not the same.
Right.
Like it is, it's a really, I'm going to be honest. I don't think this gets solved I don't know if this gets solved ever. I don't think this gets solved in our lifetime. I mean, this was such a step back. We're not going to get all geopolitical here, but this is like, is insane. Yeah. What's going on over there. I don't think this is going to be something that just, after a generation, all's forgiven and we can live in harmony, but we'll see. Anyway. So second paragraph, I support the deportation of foreign nationals who are in the country illegally or have committed crimes, but Khalil apparently doesn't fall in either of those baskets. He's a legal permanent resident, or LPR, who is married to an American citizen. She's 8 months pregnant. Khalil was arrested by ICE and is currently in an ICE detention facility in Louisiana. The government has canceled his green card and is attempting to deport him, though a federal judge has halted his deportation order as the court considers his attorney's appeal. Department of Homeland Security spokesman Tricia McLaughlin released a statement claiming that Khalil's activism was, quote, aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, unquote. But no charges have been filed against him, and the administration hasn't elaborated on how he is, quote unquote, aligned to Hamas or what exactly he's done to deserve deportation. This, quote, this is the first arrest of many more to come. President Trump commented on social media. The White House's official Twitter and Instagram accounts reposted Trump's comments on the case with the all caps headline, quote unquote, Shalom Mahmoud, which is a Hebrew greeting that means peace and can be used as a greeting or to say goodbye. I mean, that's just fun trolling.
Yeah.
It's a juvenile, peculiar look for an administration that just signed an executive order making English the official language of the United States. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize, I missed that one. I mean, I read it here, but I missed that.
The executive order.
Yeah. Trump did that. Yeah. Any notes on that? Yeah.
I mean, so again, this is based just on the facts from the article here. But this is frustrating if, the Trump administration hasn't released what the charges are, and is being so quick to point the finger at Khalil here and associate
Yeah.
him with Hamas. And it really does fly in the face of, again, so far it seems to really fly in the face of the modern rights fight, which I thought was pretty good up until recently, fight for
Yeah.
free speech. And it substantiates something that I've been warning my more hardline conservative friends of. It's like, hey, look, I think right now you guys are doing a better job of fighting for free speech. I'll commend you for that. But I'm telling you, don't stick too hard, because if they get into power, I guarantee you they're going to start going after their enemies.
It's going to be reprisal after reprisal. And like this also, like, it's so foreseeable because all you have to do is change the term like anti-Semitism to like anti-Black racism or anti-LGBTQ. And it's like, you could be arrested for wearing a MAGA hat or something. Like, it's so, also it's like, and look, the Democrats, when they were in power, they did persecute, I believe, Jan 6 protesters who, some of them, yes, were criminals and were violent and should be in jail. But a lot of them were held and didn't have access to attorneys and were not, I think, had like literal habeas, should have like had habeas corpus violations and, which is a civil rights violation. And like they were persecuted against. And that's also wrong. So be better than them. Like you can, like your reprisal can be winning and building coalitions and this like moving the needle more to your side where you're like constantly winning. And you are the party of free speech, because guess what? People like that. Immigrants like that. Citizens like that. People come here for this. That's one of like the premier values of our country. And if you not only say that you uphold this value, but you actually show it too, like that will pay dividends in the long run. Even if that means you have to defend someone whose views you really dislike. Like I'm sure, and if I didn't say this in the beginning, like I'm sure I don't agree with this guy on a lot of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I've been pretty, like, if anything, October 7th and the fallout from it made me support Israel more and made me follow less left-wing people. I lost a lot of respect for left-wingers that I really respected because of their reaction to it. I mean, these were women and children who were murdered, and not any, like, just civilians who were murdered and tortured and are still held hostage. And, days after they were saying that, oh, this is just, they were having like the flood Brooklyn, or like, which of course was reminiscent of the Al-Aqsa flood. That was the code name or whatever for this attack on Israel. And I found that so disgusting. And just the throat clearing and the blaming of, victim blaming, more or less. And so like this actually made me more supportive of Israel. So don't now go back on these values that now, like, you are the better party in this. And I say party because Republican, we could just say, like, I don't know, people from the center to the right, and like stick to that, because I do feel it slipping. I do feel like, look, you won the Great Awakening, like you beat that back. We beat that back. Like I can definitely consider myself.
You and I we're the champions of this.
We did this. We did it, Joe. Kamala meme. We did it, Joe. So like, don't like keep that, because it you won in the long run. Like it's only going to help you. I know I'm rambling on that part here. So
and just one more thing. It's easy to fight for free speech when you're on the side that is like the minorities, or at least the side that doesn't have all the power. And so that made the right seem more sympathetic, because it's like, even if I'm not a hardcore Trump supporter, I'm still gonna be like, hey, you can't harass the guy who's wearing a MAGA hat. But it's like, okay, now that the guy who's wearing a MAGA hat is saying, hey, we should lock this guy up. It's like, well, hold on, he was just
what do you do? Like we want to be tough on crime, not tough on speech. Like that's that's the point. And that's what, I mean, he starts his article, what's his name? Dave here starts his article saying that. He's like, look, we should, like, criminals who are here, like illegal nationals. Sorry, let me start from the beginning of the sentence. I support the deportation of foreign nationals who are in the country illegally or have committed crimes. Like, boom, that's in the second paragraph. I mean, we all agree with that. So let's stick to that. And also, these schools have codes of conduct. And I think Colombia is, I saw something today. Again, I didn't, it was just on Twitter, but I think they have cracked down really hard on the people who took over the the Hamilton Hall, it's called. They're like multi-year suspensions, expulsions, degree withholding, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like they are cracking down on it. So like that should be it. Like that is an insular thing. They're not tolerating it, even though sometimes it feels like they are. So that, I mean, that was the point, right? The point isn't to lock up a bunch of students who are disrupting class. It's to get them expelled or warnings or whatever, and actually treat them like adults. But that's it. Those aren't crimes. Like, it's not a crime. That's not how this should work. And also, well, and if they're visa holders, they're student visa holders, that's different too. If they're going to disrupt class when you're paying, $50,000 a semester or whatever, or a year to go to some school, and this student from wherever is disrupting the class and they're on a student visa, yeah, they should just be kicked out. Get them out of here.
Yep.
But that's still not a crime.
Right.
So sorry. Let me get back to this. All right. Multiple news outlets citing administration sources have said that a provision of the 1952 Immigration Nationality Act is the basis for Khalil's deportation. The provision says that any alien, quote, any alien whose presence or activities in the United States, the Secretary of State has reasonable ground to believe would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States is deportable. But unquote, but the notion that the U.S. would suffer, quote, serious adverse foreign policy consequences, unquote, if Khalil, one of the many student protesters, stays in the country is far-fetched, as relations between the Netanyahu government and the Trump administration couldn't be closer. Additionally, if the government believes that Khalil poses a threat, how does sending him back to Syria, parentheses, he's of Palestinian origin, but is a citizen of Syria, which borders Israel, help safeguard the Jewish state? That's also kind of a good point. It's like, how sending this guy closer to Israel, if he's a threat to an ally, or to like, you see like the logic here.
Yeah.
Jonathan Turley, a conservative legal scholar and author of the recent book, The Indispensable Right, Free Speech in an Age of Rage, argued on X that the deportation order is valid because Khalil was, quote, reportedly under investigation, unquote, for the takeover of a campus building during pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia. So here Turley appears to be dancing around the clear First Amendment violation by arguing that Khalil's alleged action, taking over a building rather than protected political speech, is a viable justification for deporting him. But does anyone think that the administration would deport students protesting, say, vaccine and mask mandates if they took over a campus building? See, this is where, like, I get, while I don't think it's necessarily it would definitely be setting an example. And I have heard people say, I'll just say, like, Sagar on Breaking Points, he makes the arguments like his view is, and he's right wing, is. The law is on the government side here. Don't fuck around with this stuff. Yeah. My words. Does that mean they should do this? No, I don't think they should do this. And his view is, he's a green card holder. It's not a crime. If a student visa would be different, but like the law is on their side. He'll get due process. They'll have to prove the case. And that's it. And then he can be deported. It's that simple. So this is where, the Dave Seminara here, if there were, so let's play, let's do the thought experiment. If there's students here from, I don't know, Australia, England, Nigeria, doesn't matter. They were at an elite American school and they took over a campus building for something I believe in, let's say, like mask mandates or vaccine mandates or whatever, and they took it over, they should get deported. Like, they can now, if they express that speech in a public forum and they were, handing out flyers, or even if they had a megahorn and it's allowed at that time, or like, that's all fine. Right. Now the school would still probably, this is just kind of so I think such a falsity to me or such a farce to me, because like these students, not only would they not take over a campus building if they were like anti-vax protesters, they would get so attacked on campus, and the administration would be so swift. It's almost like difficult to contemplate that. But fine, let's say that they did. Yeah, those British or Nigerian students should get deported because, and I bet you if Biden was the president and this happened, they would deport those students. I don't think that at all. Like I don't think that's a leap a leap at all to say that the Biden administration in 2021, let's say the Biden administration, there's a bunch of students take over a campus building at Dartmouth protesting vaccine I know, suspend disbelief here, protesting vaccine mandates and mask mandates. You think that Biden wouldn't deport those foreign national students on visas?
Right.
Absolutely they would.
Yeah.
So no, I don't buy. And if they're green card holders, would the Biden administration not pursue of course they would. Absolutely. The Biden administration's base were the Branch Covidians. They, of course, they're the big college campus in the Northeast who supports vaccine mandates and mask mandates. Or it's like they're bread and butter of the Democrat Party. Of course, they're going to deport those students.
Yeah.
So no, I disagree. And those students should get deported based on the law, based on their actions, not based on their speech.
Right.
This is where I did disagree with the writer here.
Yeah.
All right. Ilya Shapiro at the Manhattan Institute says the arrest of Khalil poses, quote, no First Amendment problems, unquote, none whatsoever, Shapiro argues, because of an INA provision that allows for the, quote, denial or revocation of a visa of any alien who endorses or espouses terrorist activity or persuades others to endorse or espouse terrorist activity or support a terrorist organization, unquote.
And here's where the questions come in of what we mentioned earlier. There seems to be a lack of clear evidence that he is actively supportive of a terrorist organization.
Right.
So, I mean, is this is the Trump administration, are they just trying to set a precedent for at will deportation?
I think they're trying to make a statement in two ways. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I know I'm not using that term necessarily correctly here, but both for a big donor base of his, what I explained before, and to others, knock it off.
Yeah.
I'm in control now. He's trying to set the precedent of under Biden, it was crazy. It will not be like that under me. This will stop. And if this is, I have to do it, I have to do it. I'm not saying that's the right way to go about this. I'm sure that there are enough idiot, British students of South Asian or Middle Eastern background who are here on student visas, who are at protests that you can deport, right? Where it's very simple that they're student visas and it's a lot less sympathetic than the 8-month pregnant American wife. I think that you can find that.
Yeah.
Or white students, of course. It'd probably be white first because the other students would be no, I need to get an education because I have a tiger mom. So, so they're gonna kick my ass if I come home from Yale and I didn't get an education. It'll probably be some white student from Croydon or whatever. All right. Getting back to this, it's unclear whether Shapiro knew that Khalil isn't a visa holder, but rather an LPR. But in any case, where's the evidence that Khalil supports Hamas? It's not in Shapiro's column, and I couldn't find it in any other piece arguing in favor of his deportation, nor is it in any communication the government has released. Khalil told the AP before his arrest that there were, quote, 13 allegations against me. Most of them are social media posts I had nothing to do with, unquote. So, yeah, I mean, that's going to your point that you made is I think there are some people, and I know Ilya Shapiro. I think he is or was a Georgetown professor, very smart, but also I think just very, very one-sided on this.
Yeah.
And they're both I respect people on both sides of this issue a lot who I think on this issue they're just too blind to what you're saying, where it's to Shapiro it didn't even matter. Palestine equals Hamas, and to some of the Palestinian pro-Palestinian people is Jews equal
Genocide.
Zionist. Yeah, exactly. Jews equal genocidal Zionists, right? Or at a minimum, Israelis equal genocidal Zionists. All right. So Khalil has also previously described himself as a negotiator or spokesperson for the group Columbia University Apartheid Divest, which has celebrated Hamas's October 7th attack. And so he may be a Hamas supporter. But if he is, why hasn't anyone produced a single social media post or other evidence to corroborate the claim? If a foreign visa holder or even a green card holder is providing material support to a terrorist group, fundraising for a terrorist group, or engaging in violence or inciting others to violence, they should absolutely be deported. I'm also okay with deporting foreign nationals who assaulted Jewish students, but it isn't clear if Khalil has done any of those things. And if his only offense is a thought crime, he should be allowed to stay. So again, it's like there has to be better examples of students who do I'm saying this to the Trump administration, like they're out there. Find them, because this is just, you're giving, like, liberals and the left wing were so demoralized after this election, and they've been so kind of mealy mouthed and milk toast, and they don't know what they want to be. And I think they deserve all of that. And I say that as someone who not that long ago was voting Democrat. And you're giving them what they need, because there were some like marches and stuff, but they fizzled out. There was nothing like that happened between the 2016 election and then 2020. It was just, I mean, they're literally painting over the Black Lives Matter thing in DC now. It's like completely changed. And you're giving them a touchstone to rally behind, just to say, like, and rightfully so. Like, you could find a better example, and not, give your enemies, and that's probably not the best term to use, give your political enemies, let's say, political enemies, that catalyst that really is not going to help you out.
Right.
Because there's nothing that boomer liberals love more than a cause celeb. Like, there's just nothing. They love their whole, it's just like protesting is just like in their blood. They still think it's 1968. And any way to protest and organize. They love organizing shit. Bird watchers for Kamala.
Grassroots.
Grassroots. Whatever it is, you're just giving them a reason to organize.
Canvassing.
The argument, the counter to what I'm saying would be, it's like true on most issues, but actually, like, Democrat boomers are pretty pro-Israel, because that's still part, like, that's why Biden. And so maybe it's like Trump did find a sweet where you're going to have, like, while the younger generations are shifting more right compared to other generations at that age, it's really just like a fraction of this segment that turns off so many people anyway, so we can get away with it, I guess. I don't know. That's just like, I'm just talking like from a politically shrewd standpoint. Maybe that's what they're thinking, but you really don't want to get the liberal suburban moms fired up about something. I want to skip a little here. Actually, we only have a few more paragraphs. Okay, we have 3 more paragraphs. With the promise of more arrests to come, and so how Trump does that, by the way. He really can sell shit so much. But wait, there's more.
Exactly.
And Zionist organizations such as Betar providing the government with a list of students they want deported. That's always great. The stakes are bigger than just this one case, and the administration must establish clear guidelines and explain their actions in detail. Imagine waking up and you're like on some list to get deported. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're just like hungover and you're just like wanting to get laid. So you went to some stupid protest. Some pink-haired girl in a pixie cut. Trust me, I've been there. And you're just like, all right, whatever. I'll go to some protest. And they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna get deported because I was horny after I drank 7 Miller High Lifes. All right.
Lists. Anytime the government has a list, I'm like, oh god.
Government lists are never great. Where was I? Okay, pro-Israel groups have tarnished many who criticize Israel's actions as quote-unquote pro-Hamas, but many are just like me in that they strongly oppose Hamas, but are deeply disturbed by our tax dollars going to support the IDF's killing of tens of thousands of women and children, not to mention aid workers and journalists, and the annihilation of Gaza's infrastructure and displacement of 90% of its population. True. I'm not a legal scholar, and the courts will decide the fate of Khalil and others who are next on the deportation list. It seems clear to me that the government can deport visa holders for nearly any reason it wants to. And I honestly think that's fine. For green card holders, the situation is murkier, but regardless, even the government can do something. That doesn't mean that it should. Do we really want the world to regard our land of the free as a place where you better be careful what you say about Israel? I agree. Like, I think it is kind of ridiculous. You can get in way more hot water criticizing Israel than criticizing America in America.
Yeah.
The GOP is either going to be the free speech party or it isn't. Republicans were right to be outraged by the Biden administration's heavy-handed attempts to censor those it disagreed with on vaccines and other topics. But now that they're in power, it isn't time to chill speech on Israel it dislikes simply because it can.
Yep.
All right. Overall, I think it's a really good article. Again, if it comes out that you have Khalil like in a fucking like an effigy of an Israeli setting on fire and like cutting his head off, all right, get rid of him. Like you can, even actually, I don't know. Even still, is that I don't know. That does get murky. Is that speech? I guess
it's still more like if there's proof that he's pro Hamas and like supporting Hamas or has
it's not a crime. Like I know I just flung that out there. That was just and so let's use that, right? Let's say that does come out with Khalil Nakafia setting an effigy of a really racist stereotype of a Jew, setting it on fire and beheading it. It's not material support,
right?
Okay, is he wearing like the green Hamas thing? Yeah, I guess this is tricky. Like this shit is tricky. Now is that someone who should be? Again, we're arguing here deportation versus being a student at Columbia, right? Like, and because students have gotten expelled for much less than that. I don't know. I don't know.
Would an equivalent of that be like burning the U.S. flag? Because that's legal, right?
Yeah, it's legal. Burning the U.S. flag is legal, and again, that's like one of the best examples of one. It's one of the most ironic forms of protest speech. It's like to me, it's like the equivalent of the upside down cross that like Satanists use. It's like joke's on you. The upside down cross is extremely Catholic symbol. It's the cross of St. Peter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which is funny. Actually, the Pope has a throne that, if you look on the back of it, has upside down cross because St. Peter was the first Pope. A lot of people don't know that. When like exorcism movies, the cross always goes upside down. It's like, oh, St. Peter's coming. Nope, it's Satan. But it's the same thing. It's like, you burning that American flag to protest America. You're protesting the country that gives you the right to burn that American flag. But anyway, yes, it is protected speech. It's also speech that I disagree with, but you should be allowed to do it. It's not a crime.
Right.
So I don't know if Khalil, there's a video of him, it's a big if, like burning an effigy of a Jew. Or let's say Netanyahu. That's probably more realistic, right? Burning an effigy of Netanyahu and cutting its head off and saying Allah Akbar and other things in Arabic that are against the Israeli Zionist pigs or whatever, right?
From the river to the sea and all that.
Yeah. Which to the river to the sea, that's a whole thing that is that right. We're not going to.
Or Christ is king. I know that's the.
Yeah. Christ is king.
But I don't know if the Muslim guy is saying that. I don't know. That might not. But anyway.
Yeah. There's a lot of funny overlap. I'm not going to get into like Muslims and Jesus thing, but like it's funny where you'll have like Saudi. You know how bin Salman bought the most expensive painting in the world, which is a painting of Jesus, the Salvator Mundi. You remember that? They like found it, and it was a Da Vinci, right? I think Da Vinci. Yeah. And he bought it's like on one of his yachts, right? And it's the most expensive painting in the world. It's like $450 million. It is beautiful. Some people say it's fake or whatever, but I think it's beautiful. And then they're like Saudi clerics, and you would think like you're Saudi clerics upset about that. That's because it's Jesus. And it's like, yes, they're upset because it's Jesus, because Jesus in Islam is actually extremely important. He's not number one, but he's up there. He's number two. A lot of people don't realize that. Jesus and Muhammad come back in the Quran, come back to fight the devil, basically, or whatever some creature is. Like they tag team. It's like the ultimate Super Friends tag team WrestleMania. Muhammad and Jesus come back. A lot of people don't know.
He's not a starter, but he's not a bench warmer.
Yeah, no, like he's the penultimate prophet. Muhammad's the last one. In Christianity, it's Jesus, and the Jews are still waiting. And so those clerics were protesting that he had a picture of Jesus because Jesus is so important to Islam, not because he's so you see what I'm saying here. It's one of those like mind pretzel things. I don't know if that comes out. Imagine if that comes out with like Khalil and there's some video of him. I don't know. I can imagine some like, grainy video. Someone's like hiding it in a t-shirt or something. And it comes out. I don't know, man. I don't think he should get deported. It's not a crime. Right. Should probably get expelled from.
Maybe just put him on a list. You don't have to deport him. Just put him on some list. Just
and like just have him live with that for a while. It's like you're on a list. Because then that is scary. You have to live your whole life thinking you're just gonna like some like Navy SEALs gonna kick in your door and rappel down your through your windows and bring you to a black site. Just shove things up your ass.
Yeah, exactly.
And you like it.
That's his biggest fear.
Yeah. Oh no! I hope no one does this to me. I hope the American government to come and get me. A bunch of brawny SEAL Team 6 sweaty dudes. I feel like this is a Louis C.K. like bit.
Yeah.
And hold me down.
Well, anyway. Anyway, Ben, we got serious things to talk about here. We got lists. We got lists.
I don't know. I hope it doesn't come out, but my verdict right now is let him stay. This probably scared the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Unless he's a terrorist, then fuck him.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's fuck him. All right. What else do we have to talk about? Do we have another topic?
Yeah, I sent you the thing, the Mary McDonald-Lewis thing. The left-wing cancel culture is still happening.
Oh, all right. You take this one.
Yeah. You didn't see the thing I sent you?
I did. I ignored it. I forgot.
I took the time.
Yeah. You did.
Okay. So Mary McDonald-Lewis is she's an actress and she's a voice coach, and she's worked on some pretty big projects. She was a dialect coach for Kinds of Kindness, which came out recently. She's worked on some TV shows. She's done some voice acting on some like on G.I. Joe and some other things. So she's got a pretty decent amount of credits to her name. Now she actually follows me on Twitter. We're mutuals. I don't know if we've ever really interacted. Dated? Well, no, but
oh no, I did look at this. Okay.
So I have here an article. It's a very short article, but anyway, so the Milagro Theater cancels play over stars' remarks on transgender people. Mary McDonald-Lewis is a national SAG-AFTRA board member and voice actor. The Milagro Theater, Portland's premier Latino arts and culture center, has pulled a March run of shows of the Macbeths, citing remarks by its co-creator and star Mary McDonald-Lewis that disparaged gender transitions. That I think is a bit of a stretch. I don't think it's so much that she's disparaged gender transitions. I think it's more that she's been defending, women's only spaces, and it's been criticizing, letting trans women into women's sports. I've looked at her Twitter, and I haven't seen every single post, but I've looked
extremely popular positions. In most of America, the vast majority of America. Yeah, except for Portland and a handful of cities.
Exactly. I don't know like her full track record of her positions, but it does not. It seems like she's criticizing the most extreme aspects of transgender like radical activism, and not shitting on just regular trans people just trying to live their lives, right? Yeah. So she had this play that was I think it was sort of like a modern take on Shakespeare's Macbeth, called The Macbeths. So here's a quote here. Milagro does not support, condone, or tolerate discrimination. or tolerate discrimination, hate speech, or violence against the LGBTQ IAA plus community.
Get him in there.
Nor do we support those who do, said theater management in a February 21st statement. Recently, it was brought to our attention by community members that one of the upcoming third-party rentals in our theater space was led by an individual whose views do not align with our mission or values. The statement goes the statement goes on to say that Milagro is updating its rental procedures to add background checks and a clause to contracts about abiding by the theater.
Get her on a list.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This is insane. So Mary McDonald-Lewis is a national and local board member of the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists Union. She is an established voice actor, dialect coach, and the voice of OnStar, General Motors navigation system. Her bio on X introduces her as a heterodox adult human female, and much of her feed is dedicated to trans issues and free speech. McDonald-Lewis has disparaged they/them pronouns and gender transitions and posted a photo of a trans woman with the words "not a real woman" above it. The Macbeths was not a production created by Milagro Theater. Rather, it's a rental of its stage by McDonald-Lewis and the play's co-creator, Doran Elias. It was supposed to run March 6th to the 16th and be a reconsideration of the original with dagger point focus on the passionate, ambitious, bloody love affair between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. When reached by phone for comment on the cancellation of her show, McDonald-Lewis said the story is not over. I would only say I'm really excited to see where Doran Elias, my co-creator, is going to take it next. I'm super excited. It's going to be fantastic. She did not elaborate on her controversial social media comments, but did post a statement addressed to the Portland theater community online message board. PDX backstage, distancing herself from Milagro Theater and the Macbeths. Luckily she has. So, do you follow Clifton Duncan?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. We should probably get him on the show. He and I are mutuals. He's
dating?
Yeah.
Hot.
Exactly. No. But he's been a great voice of reason. And even though he mostly criticizes like the woke left, he's also gone after the right on some of these issues as well. So he's actually playing Thomas Sowell, I believe, in a one-man production.
Oh yes, yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that. I was talking to my wife about that. Yeah.
I believe that's going to be happening sometime this year. But anyway, he's friends with McDonald-Lewis. And so she started, not a GoFundMe, but she started like a fundraising thing to raise money for another version of this production, because all the money, I guess, just kind of, well, I don't know all the I don't know all the financial aspects of it. I'm not sure, that side of it. But so she started a fundraiser to get the production back up again. This is crazy. The vibe shift.
The vibe shift didn't happen in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, Portlandia 2.0. The vibe shift didn't happen in Portland. Because what was that? The dream of the 90s is alive in Portland. That was like old, fun I've actually never been. Have you been to Portland?
No, I have not.
Yeah, stay away from there. But I remember when it was advertised more as like the 90s still alive here. It's like handcrafted things and like you're wearing what's that, flannel shirts, and
it's funny
because where earrings don't usually go, and
they had a musical segment that was like the dream of the 1890s is still alive, because it's still the exact same culture. It's like handcrafted, like dudes with big beards.
What's funny is that
woodworking.
Not that I've seen a lot of Portlandia, but like I think it started as it was exaggeration, and then that's just what Portland became. Yeah. And then it's like, oh well, it's not funny anymore. This is Fred Armisen and Carrie Brownstein, they're obviously very hipstery, but it was so quaint. They're like Gen X comedians.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like they poked fun of sort of like the intersectional aspects of it, but in a fun, lighthearted way. So it's like I feel like that's a show that people kind of across the political spectrum could dig, because it's like, it on the one hand, it kind of celebrates, hipster culture, but it also kind of pokes fun at it too. So it's like, and also it's just very lighthearted. It's not taking a solid stance on anything, but like, I remember there's do you remember when they had like the the lesbian bookstore owners.
Oh yeah, I mean they were like a regular segment.
Yeah. And so they shot at an actual like women's like feminist bookstore, and so but then because Fred Armisen was doing drag, they found it offensive, so they said you can't shoot here anymore.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah. And so they even like put like a poster up and saying, you know, we condemn Portlandia's, you know, making fun of trans people and this and that. And then like the bookstore went under. And it's like, if you guys just had a little bit of a sense of humor, you could have brought so much fucking business.
I just love the scene. I think it's with is it Steve Buscemi or it's like they like run, they like can't make change for a 20 and they like shut down the store.
Yeah.
That might be like the first episode. I watched very little. There's more clips. Or I love the one with the parades. It's like all the awareness. Like anyone can laugh at that. Can laugh at like, yeah, there's so many awareness things, and I can't remember any of the specifics. So I'm not doing it justice, but it's like random micro niche groups, and it's like, well, this is such and such pride and this pride, and anyone can laugh at that.
Yeah. But you know, if that fucking bookstore had just had a little bit of a sense of humor, they could have capitalized. Oh, and one of the things that they criticized for their downfall,
because they're not.
Yeah, I was about to say
about that life.
Yeah, well, when they released a statement talking about you know, why the bookstore was going under, they also blamed capitalism, and it's like, you guys could have capitalized on this, and rightfully so. It's like, you know, if you just like I probably would have like I don't frequent feminist bookstores, but if I ever made it to Portland, I would be like, oh, I want to check out the bookstore from Portlandia. I might even buy something there.
Exactly. they really they cut off their nose to spite their face.
Exactly. Yeah. But I remember there was one joke when they were
lesbian faces.
They had a car wash to raise money for their thing. And then so they're washing this one guy's car and they're making small talk with him. So he's just sitting there while they're washing his car. Yeah. I'm like, oh, so where are you from? And he goes, Portland. And then they go, Oregon? He goes, yeah. Of course, there's always gonna be some dipshits. So, well, technically there's Portland in Maine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you don't need to clarify that in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I wonder which one's douchier.
Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Maine?
I feel like they're very similar.
I know nothing about Portland, Maine.
I think it's just like Portland, Oregon.
Oh.
I'm serious. It's like they both. I joke about this in my book, in one of my books, Neon God, where it's like this question. They keep saying Portland and they talk about their beer. It's like, yeah, but that's both. I literally ran into there's when I was living in New Orleans, I was like in a beer store. And this what like, you know, when someone just wants to say something, so they say it to like the nearest person near them. And this woman just like really wanted to tell me that she's from Portland, Oregon.
Oh,
and she's like needed to tell me this. Yeah. And I'm looking at the beer. She's like, oh, like I'm from Portland. We have such better beer selection. I'm just like, get away from me.
It looks very artsy, so I'm probably gonna assume, it's probably pretty douchey.
It's definitely not as insane. I don't know if douchey is the right word, but it's definitely not as insane politically. But I think they're very similar, right. Very, very liberal cities, and otherwise, like Oregon's pretty liberal overall. But like, there's some deep red parts of Oregon, which is like the more foresty, and Maine is, you know, swingy for where it is. I mean, it has a 2-district thing, and the other one's gone red multiple years in a row. But anyway, so I mean, this how do we get it? We've started talking about Portlandia. I mean, this is classic. Like, this reminds me of 2021, which Joe, so we started. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, it's ridiculous. It's the same. I mean, I'm fine. My view is Portland, and I'm sorry, Oregon, to like normal Oregonians. I feel for you. I'm all for the greater Idaho movement, where, you know, they want to break away. And it's like, I want, actually, and this is just like shrewd politics, I want places like Portland to exist as a magnet for all the super uber liberal people. Like, go there, please. That's where you can go. And I'm sorry, I think that's what happened to California. I hate to say it, or in like 40 years from like the 80s to the 2020s, may have some that's reversing a little, but like, I like those places because it's like, take it away from where I live, take it away from the places I want to go to. And so I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Portland not turning into the like not hitting the vibe ship. I think they barely like they did shift a little to Trump, but like not like other cities that went like 10 points, not like LA, not like San Francisco. So I'm all for that. So keep it up, Portland. You're doing a good job in because look, who I want to win isn't going to win all 50 states. You don't have to win all 50 states.
Right.
So I want you to go there. What are you going to say?
Yeah. Oh, so speaking of flashback to 2021, do you remember the grievance studies hoax perpetrated by James Lindsay, Peter Boghossian, and Helen Pluckrose?
Yeah, they talked about like, was it like gay dogs or something?
It was how dog humping incidents at dog parks were like proof of like flashback rape culture, because they learned that from their owners. Yeah, it was, they published these bullshit like ridiculous hyper progressive studies.
They got like awards and shit.
They got awards and shit. So that practice. So I hope this is a prank. So this is published, and this is from just a couple days ago. But this feels like something from, like early days of Trump or like right after Trump, where it's like, why you guys? I thought anyway. So Colin Wright posted this journal, this actual like study, and it's the most ridiculous intersectional bullshit ever. And I'll just read a little bit from the abstract, but the title of it, and this feels like such a fucking prank. It's called, and this is published in the Journal of Lesbian Studies.
Wait, there's a group that just studies lesbians?
I guess so.
Or is it by lesbians, for lesbians, or both?
I don't know if it's just the sexuality of lesbians. I don't fucking know. That's the thing. This feels like a prank, and I hope it is. And I kind of hope it's not. But anyway, so I'll just read this. I'll read the title and a little bit of the abstract. So the title of the study is called "Queer Canine Becomings: Lesbian Feminist Cyborg Politics and Interspecies Intimacies in Ecologies of Love and Violence." That's just like,
it can't be real.
This can't be real. I'll read the first couple of sentences.
I hope it's real, but it can't be real.
I mean, so I have magnet poetry here, and it just feels like that, just like slapping together a bunch of random crap.
Like
this
a Bob
article,
Dylan song.
Yeah, exactly. This article offers a queer lesbian feminist analysis attuned to lesbian, queer, trans, canine relationalities. Specifically, the article places queer and lesbian ecofeminism in conversation with Donna Haraway's work on the cyborg and companion species to theorize the interconnected queer becomings of people, nature, animals, and machines amidst ecologies of love and violence in the 2020s. I won't go on because it's the same shit over and over and over again. Yeah. In this second, the article analyzes how within lesbian, non-binary, and trans dog intimacies, dogs help articulate queer gender, sexuality, and kinship formations, and as such, queer worlds for gender, sexual, and kin becomings. Becomings? Like that's a noun, I guess, now? The becomings of a lesbian cyborg?
Yeah, I can't stand academic speak. It just like my eyes gloss over.
Anyway,
I hope it's fake. No, sorry, I hope it's real, but I think it's fake. It's too.
I don't know which I want more.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you seen like that short video of like how Vice like comes up with articles, and it's just like it's like a dude with like a man bun, and he's got like 3 different boards, and it's just like, and he's got like a rubber dildo with like the suction cup, and he throws it at 3, and it was just like group, activity, and country, and then like this was like real Vice article, but it was like transgender strippers in Guatemala are fighting for eco-social justice cause or something like, or drug cartels, like the most ridiculous like but it's like, yeah, it's just refrigerator magnet poetry slapped together and publishing it. So this is a nice little trip down intersectional lane.
Yeah, it never disappoints, and it'll always be there for us.
Yeah
We're gonna always lean back into the warm embrace of progressive politics.
Yeah. But anyway, Benjamin, I think that sums this era up, the age of rage. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to open up about?
Why you have a seat, Chris? Why you have a seat? No, I'm good. I think it's a good episode.
Yeah,
despite present company.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry about that.
I'm kidding. All right. No, that's good. Good talk. You stay reckless out there. Try
Yeah.
not to get fingered. Fight the fingerings. Remember, no fingerings. No.
Oh yeah, and be sure to follow us on social media,
Oh, yeah.
and we have a Patreon too if you want to support what we do financially.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Fight the crits.